Sometimes the universe hums a lullaby you didn't know you needed. Sometimes it hums it quietly, in the spaces between your thoughts, or in the hush of a backyard just as the sun begins to dip behind the clouds. Tonight we are here together in that space, and I want you to know something important. We truly love and care for you. We care about the little tremors that ripple through your heart, the small sighs you never say out loud, the moments when you feel a weight that has no name. Tonight, we hope to guide you into a dream that feels like home, as soft and safe as a cloud you can lie on forever. Before we begin the story, tell us, where in the world are you watching from and what time is it there? Perhaps the stars are just beginning to peak, or maybe the night is already deep and quiet. Now grab your coffee or a warm cup of tea and settle in. Let the world outside your window stretch away for a while. Let us drift together. Morty was very small that day, small enough to hide behind the folds of the garden bushes, small enough that the blades of grass seemed like gentle towers swaying in slow motion. The sky above him was not ordinary. No, it was the sort of sky that felt as if it was breathing, moving with quiet curiosity, as though it had a secret that it had been carrying for years. And then, suddenly, tiny lights began to drift down from the heavens, like slow, soft snow. But they were stars, each one glowing faintly like a warm memory you could almost touch. Morty blinked. He could not remember ever seeing stars fall in the middle of the day. Yet here they were, dripping light into his hands, whispering in a language older than time. He reached out, trembling just slightly, and caught one in his palm. It felt weightless, like holding a sigh. A gentle warmth spread through his fingers, and for the first time Morty felt something in his chest that he could not name, a mixture of awe, curiosity, and a deep, unspoken joy. There was a tiny hum, almost musical, as if the stars themselves were singing him a lullaby, and he pressed the glow close to his heart. At that moment, he noticed someone standing a little ways off, half hidden in the shadows of the tall fence posts. Rick, or rather, the figure who would come to be his mentor, his guide through the strange and quiet journeys of life. Rick's eyes twinkled with something gentle, something mischievous and yet unexpectedly tender. "You found one," Rick said softly, not scolding, not commanding, but simply observing. "It's yours if you want it." Morty hesitated. He didn't know what it meant for a star to be his, but somehow the star felt like a tiny piece of understanding, a light that had chosen him. He tucked it into his pocket, feeling the soft, comforting pulse against his jeans. Rick knelt beside him, careful not to disturb the small, sacred moment. "Sometimes," he said, his voice low and melodic, "the universe drops things into our hands we can't explain. And sometimes we're just supposed to hold them and see what grows." Morty nodded slowly, though he didn't fully understand. That day, as the light continued to drift lazily down from above, he began to feel the first stirrings of something extraordinary within him, a curiosity that would carry him far beyond the garden, far beyond any ordinary adventure. It was the curiosity that notices the tiniest details, that sees the hidden patterns of life, that feels the gentle pulse of other hearts even when no words are spoken. The rest of the afternoon passed in a soft haze. Clouds drifted across the sky like drifting thoughts, and the air smelled faintly of sandwiches left in the sun and the tender tang of rain yet to come. Morty and Rick sat quietly, occasionally tossing a small star back and forth, their laughter soft and musical, folding into the hush of the neighborhood. No one else seemed to notice the stars, as if the universe had created this small secret space just for them. Morty liked that. He liked the quiet magic of it, the way the ordinary world could suddenly become something extraordinary if you only stopped to watch. As the evening approached, the stars began to dim, slipping back toward their celestial home. Morty pressed his palms together, still feeling the residual warmth, and realized something important. Life might be strange, unpredictable, even a little frightening at times. But there was always this, moments of quiet wonder, the soft pulse of curiosity, and the gentle presence of someone who believes in you. He didn't understand everything about what had happened, and he didn't have to. The understanding itself was in the feeling, in the gentle unfolding of his heart, in the whisper of the stars that had chosen to land in his hands for just a while. And so, as twilight painted the sky in the softest purples and pinks, Morty went inside, carrying the warmth and light tucked safely against his chest. He would not remember all the details of that day, in the way one remembers a fact, but he would remember the feeling, quiet awe, soft wonder, and the deep, unshakable knowledge that even the smallest heart can hold a little piece of the universe. Tonight, as you listen, let that feeling settle into you too. Let it curl gently around your thoughts like a cloud. Imagine the warmth, the soft glow, and the quiet companionship of someone who sees you, truly sees you, and carries your light alongside theirs. And with that, let your eyes drift slowly closed, your body relax, and your mind fold into a gentle, dreaming rhythm. The afternoon sun had softened into a quiet, honeyed glow by the time Morty found himself wandering the edge of the yard, where shadows stretched long and soft across the grass. The world around him seemed to murmur in whispers, gentle and curious, as if the trees themselves were speaking in a language meant only for those who would listen. Morty had learned, even at this small age, that there were conversations in the spaces between things, in the twitch of a leaf, the flicker of light on the sidewalk, the faint hum of distant air, and he was listening quietly with his heart wide open. It was in these small moments that his peculiar awareness first began to take shape. He noticed the tiny details that most overlooked: a bug climbing slowly along the fence, the uneven ripple of sunlight on the backyard wall, the subtle change in the wind's scent when clouds passed overhead. It was not that Morty's mind was sharper than others. It was that he had learned to slow, to watch, and to feel. There was a softness in his observation, a gentle empathy that allowed him to understand without words, to see not only what was there but what it might mean to someone else, or even to himself. A faint laugh drifted from the open kitchen window. Morty tilted his head and saw Rick, crouched low and carefully arranging small bits of string and leaves into curious patterns on the counter. "Hey," Rick said softly without turning fully toward him. "You're noticing things, huh? That's good. That's really good." There was a warmth in the way Rick said it, a quiet pride that made Morty's chest feel full, light, and strangely tender all at once. Morty didn't always understand Rick's words, but he understood the heart behind them, and sometimes that was enough. The shadows grew longer, slipping across the yard like soft fingers brushing the grass. Morty wandered closer, the faint hum of the wind a kind of lullaby guiding him along the stone path. He reached out and let his fingers brush the leaves, feeling the subtle vibrations in their veins, the pulse of life so delicate and fleeting that it made him gasp softly. Rick watched from the window, a half-smile tracing the corners of his lips. Sometimes, Morty thought, the world was alive in ways that were almost invisible, and those who noticed it were part of a secret conversation the universe had been whispering all along. By evening, the quiet laughter of the house had become a gentle echo, and the warm glow of the last sunbeam lingered on the edges of Morty's vision. He found a small stone, smooth and round, and placed it in his pocket alongside the star he had caught days ago. These were not treasures in the way most children understood treasures. They were small, weightless reminders that the world held magic in quiet, ordinary places. He tucked the stone close, feeling the gentle warmth against his fingers, and remembered the way Rick had looked at him, proud and tender, as though Morty's small attention to the unnoticed things mattered as much as any grand adventure. That night the house fell silent. Morty lay in bed, listening to the soft sigh of the wind and the faint murmur of shadows moving across the walls. He remembered the small moments of the day, the flicker of sunlight, the hum of leaves, Rick's quiet encouragement, and he understood, in a way that words could not hold, that these moments were shaping him. Each one was a thread in the fabric of who he was becoming, weaving patience, empathy, and a gentle curiosity into the very core of his being. Morty's mind drifted back to the garden, back to the stars that had fallen, and the soft hum of their light. He could almost hear them whispering now, tiny melodic tones curling around his thoughts. They seemed to say, "Notice, care, listen, you are small. Yes, but you are part of something vast, and it is good to feel." Morty held onto the warmth in his chest, feeling the soft pulse of connection to the world around him, to Rick, and to the quiet universe that always seemed ready to speak to him if he only listened. Sometimes, Morty thought it was enough to just notice, to let the quiet magic of life wash over him. Like sunlight spilling slowly through clouds, that gentle awareness became a habit, a rhythm of mind and heart that he carried everywhere. He didn't need to act boldly or shout or make anyone notice. The small things, the flicker of light, the soft laugh, the warmth of a stone in his pocket, were enough to teach him kindness, patience, and the strange, quiet courage of being fully present in a world that often rushed by without seeing. As Morty drifted towards sleep that night, he thought of Rick's soft smile, the whispering leaves, and the laughter that had floated through the golden air. He understood something delicate and essential. The world would continue to move in its noisy, busy ways, but he could hold space for wonder, for quiet laughter, for light. And that would be his secret, his gentle power. The stars might fall, shadows might stretch long, and whispers might slip through the air unnoticed by others. But Morty would be there, quietly noticing, quietly caring, quietly growing. And so as your eyes begin to grow heavy too, imagine yourself in the yard with Morty, feeling the warmth of small wonders, listening to whispers the wind carries, and letting the quiet laughter of the world settle around you. Let it curl around your chest like a soft blanket. Let your thoughts slow, and let your heart remember, even the smallest gestures, the tiniest acts of noticing and caring, are threads in a tapestry that stretches across the stars. Some days, the world feels as if it is quietly breathing with you, stretching in ways you cannot always see, yet can feel deep inside your chest. Morty learned this early, though he did not yet have words to describe it. The little habits of his childhood, the soft attention to light and shadow, the gentle curiosity about tiny happenings, were beginning to grow into something more. Something alive, something that stretched quietly inside him, like a slow, unhurried song that followed him wherever he went. It began with small gestures. One afternoon, Morty noticed a bird tangled in a low branch, its tiny wings fluttering helplessly. Most children might have screamed or looked away, but Morty knelt down softly, whispering gentle words that were more music than instruction. Rick watched from the fence, hands tucked in his pockets, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "See?" Rick murmured almost to himself. "It's not about strength or speed. It's about what you can offer quietly." Morty didn't fully understand yet, but he held the bird in his hands, feeling the pulse of life and the fragile weight of trust. Something shifted within him. This was the first stretch of his heart, the beginning of a quiet power that would grow with him over the years. He began to notice how small acts of care rippled outward, how kindness could be as powerful as bravery, how understanding someone else's feelings could feel like holding a secret that the universe entrusted only to you. Morty's world was quietly expanding, not through grand adventures or loud declarations, but through these subtle awakenings. Even his family began to notice. Sama teased him gently one day about his strange attentions to things most would overlook. "Morty, why are you always staring at the clouds like they'll answer your questions?" she asked, a teasing smile on her face. Morty shrugged, feeling the familiar warmth of his quiet pride. "They kind of do," he said softly. And in that simple sentence, the truth of his perspective began to ripple outward. The world was full of small wonders, and if you looked closely enough, they could teach you everything you needed to know. Rick, ever the unpredictable mentor, encouraged this in his own strange ways. Sometimes it was a soft nod, sometimes a shared silence that said more than words ever could. He began to introduce Morty to simple lessons in observation, not as tests but as invitations. "Notice," Rick said one evening, pointing at the stars as they appeared in a slowly darkening sky. "Notice everything. Some of the most important things are tiny, invisible things that stretch you from the inside out." Morty folded the words into his heart, feeling them stretch alongside the growing awareness he already carried. It was during these days that Morty also discovered his capacity for empathy, a trait that became as natural to him as breathing. A stray dog wandered near the yard, cautious and weary. Morty did not rush to chase it away. Instead, he knelt, offering the softest gaze, the gentlest voice, until the dog felt safe enough to inch closer. The creature rested its head lightly against Morty's knee, and he understood without thinking that this quiet patience, this small generosity, was a form of strength he could carry forever. The motif of light followed him everywhere, through his laughter, the glimmer in his eyes, the gentle tilt of his head as he listened to someone speak. Shadows and clouds continued to play along the edges of his days, but he had learned to move softly among them, to feel their textures without fear, and to understand the subtle rhythms of life unfolding around him. Each small experience, the rescued bird, the stray dog, the whispered words of encouragement, wove a delicate pattern across the canvas of his heart. At night, Morty often lay in bed, pressing the tiny star from the first chapter close to his chest, alongside a smooth stone he had found that afternoon. These small objects became talismans, reminders that life's magic was not in loud explosions or dramatic moments, but in patience, empathy, and quiet attention. He could feel the stretch inside him, a gentle expansion that moved not through force but through care, curiosity, and the soft resonance of every thoughtful choice he made. And though Morty did not yet fully understand the journey ahead, he could sense it. Life would continue to present him with opportunities to notice, to listen, to hold space for others. Each small act would shape him, each quiet choice would strengthen him, and each heartbeat would teach him the subtle poetry of being alive. The stretch of his heart was only beginning, but already it had begun to form the foundation of something vast, something gentle, something enduring. As your eyes grow heavier, imagine sitting with Morty under a sky that seems alive with faint stars, feeling your own heart stretch quietly in the hush of night. Let your awareness soften around the small wonders you notice, the flicker of light on a wall, the gentle rise and fall of your breath, the warmth tucked into your hands. Like Morty, you are learning the subtle power of care, of patience, of quiet courage. And in that knowledge, in that gentle stretching of the heart, you can feel the universe itself hum a lullaby meant just for you. The backyard that afternoon seemed to hold a quiet secret, a soft rhythm that moved with the slow sway of the trees and the gentle hum of the wind across the grass. Morty wandered barefoot over the cool earth, feeling the subtle textures beneath his feet, the soft press of each blade of grass, and the warmth of sunlight spilling across his shoulders. The clouds above were low and playful, drifting lazily, changing shape in a rhythm that seemed to match the quiet beat of his heart. Each one was a small, fleeting story, and Morty liked to imagine he could read them if he only paid close enough attention. Rick was nearby, half hidden behind the patio, tinkering with small, inconsequential machines that clicked and whirred in gentle, unhurried patterns. Morty did not understand all of them. He had no need to, but he watched, noticing the way Rick's hands moved with precise care, the faint smile that curved his lips, the soft attention he gave even to the smallest details. It was a quiet lesson, one Morty was beginning to understand, that even in the ordinary, even in tasks that seemed trivial, there was something extraordinary if you paid attention. Morty picked up a fallen leaf, turning it over in his fingers. Its veins ran like tiny, intricate rivers, delicate and alive. He held it close, feeling its fragile warmth, and imagined it carried the memory of the tree it had fallen from, the sunlight it had soaked up, the rain that had touched it, and the wind that had guided it to the ground. Everything has a story, he whispered to himself softly, though he was not sure anyone could hear. Rick glanced over, eyes twinkling faintly. "That's right," he said, voice low and warm. "Everything, even the smallest things, has a story. And if you pay attention, you might just hear it." The backyard became a small universe in Morty's eyes, a place where every shadow and shimmer, every flicker of light on the fence seemed infused with quiet magic. He wandered over to the old tree at the far edge of the yard, its branches heavy with leaves and the occasional bright blossom. Morty lay back against the soft grass, gazing up through the canopy. The clouds drifted overhead, forming shapes that seemed almost alive. A slow-moving bird, a curling ribbon, a face that smiled and winked. He let himself imagine, let himself stretch in the quiet space between dream and waking, and felt a gentle calm settle into his chest. Summer joined him briefly, sitting cross-legged on the grass. "You always see things no one else notices," she said softly. There was no teasing in her voice, only a quiet admiration. Morty shrugged, letting the warmth of the sun and the gentle rhythm of the clouds fill him. "Maybe," he said, "but maybe everyone notices things. They just don't stop to feel them." She smiled, and for a moment there was a soft connection, an unspoken understanding that even in ordinary spaces, quiet companionship could bloom like a small flower in the sun. As the afternoon stretched lazily into evening, Morty found small joys in the simplest activities. He built tiny forts from sticks, arranged smooth stones into patterns that pleased him, and watched the way sunlight danced across their surfaces. Each small act, each careful arrangement felt like a meditation, a gentle imprint of himself on the world around him. Even Rick's quiet hums and the soft clicks of his tinkering became part of the rhythm, a gentle accompaniment to Morty's focus and wonder. Motifs from previous days surfaced naturally, the gentle pulse of light, the whispers of leaves, and the faint echo of the stars he had once held in his pocket. Morty felt the continuity of his experiences, a subtle looping that gave him comfort. Life had a way of carrying forward even the smallest observations, he realized, and every quiet attention was a small act of shaping the world, a soft stretching of his heart outward into the universe. Later, a gentle breeze rolled across the yard, brushing Morty's hair, shifting the clouds overhead, and carrying with it the scent of the earth, faint flowers, and the lingering sweetness of late afternoon warmth. He closed his eyes, breathing in slowly, letting himself drift into the rhythm of the backyard. The shadows danced softly along the fence posts, the leaves whispered tiny secrets, and Morty felt a strange and gentle certainty that the world, in all its vastness, had noticed him too, in ways that could not be named but could be felt deeply. In these quiet moments, Morty also began to notice the subtle ways relationships could be built, not with grand gestures, not with loud declarations, but with presence, attention, and care. The soft bond forming with Summer, the quiet mentorship of Rick, the unseen heartbeat of the garden itself, each was a thread weaving into a tapestry that felt larger than himself. He understood at a level beyond words that love and understanding were often quiet, small, and patient, yet capable of shaping everything around them. As twilight descended and the clouds blushed pink and gold, Morty lay back once more, watching the first faint stars appear. He tucked the small stone and the little star from previous days safely into his pocket, feeling the warmth against his fingers. He realized that these treasures, these soft memories, would grow with him, teaching him to stretch his heart in every direction toward kindness, curiosity, empathy, and gentle courage. And now, as your body and mind prepare to drift alongside Morty, imagine the soft hum of the backyard, the slow dance of clouds above, and the quiet warmth of light brushing against your skin. Let the gentle rhythm of noticing, of feeling, of stretching your own heart settle into your chest. Breathe slowly, and allow the world to unfold around you in whispers and warmth. Let Morty's soft footsteps guide you through this quiet wonder, so that when your eyes close, your dreams carry the same calm, reflective awe and gentle peace that fills his small, extraordinary world. There are days when the sky seems to hold a secret just for you, a quiet promise wrapped in sunlight and drifting clouds, a gentle whisper that brushes against the edges of your thoughts. Morty woke that morning to the soft gleam of the sun spilling across his bedroom floor, the light forming gentle patterns that danced like small, invisible melodies. Somewhere deep inside he felt a sense of anticipation, though he could not name it. It was the kind of anticipation that comes not from excitement, but from curiosity, from knowing that something small, strange, and wonderful is about to brush against your life. Morty wandered into the backyard, carrying with him the familiar treasures tucked in his pockets, the little star he had caught, smooth and warm, and the stone he had held close in moments of quiet thought. The garden greeted him with a subtle rhythm, the soft hum of leaves, the whisper of the wind, and the faint laughter of shadows moving gently across the fence. But this morning there was something different, a faint musical sound, almost like a tiny bell threaded through the air. Morty tilted his head and followed the sound, walking slowly, deliberately, as if he were learning a new language of the world around him, and then he saw it. A star, not in the sky but floating a few inches above the grass, spinning slowly and laughing in a soft, tinkling way. Its light was warm and golden, as though it carried the memory of every sunset it had ever seen. Morty blinked, unsure if he was dreaming or awake, but the star did not seem worried about definitions. It laughed again, a sound so light it could have been a breeze, and it nudged him gently, as though inviting him into a quiet game, a small communion of wonder. Rick appeared a moment later, leaning casually against the fence. "Ah," he murmured, eyes soft and reflective. "The laughing star. They only visit once in a while, usually when someone is ready to notice more than just what's in front of them." "You ready for it?" Morty nodded slowly, feeling the warmth of the floating light against his chest as he reached out. It spun closer, and he felt the delicate vibration, the hum of a universe contained in a tiny, playful shape. His heart, already accustomed to quiet awe, stretched gently with the recognition that some wonders exist solely to be felt, not explained. The day unfolded in slow, deliberate motions. Morty and the star moved together through the garden, chasing shadows and sunlight, following whispers of wind and faint tremors of sound that only Morty seemed to notice. Rick watched, a quiet presence, offering soft guidance without forcing attention or direction. Morty began to feel the first stirrings of something deeper, an understanding that joy and light could exist not just in objects, but in the space between moments, in the pauses, in the tiny gestures of noticing. Summer came outside to see what the laughter was about. She crouched beside Morty and the star, her eyes wide, reflecting the soft golden light. Morty laughed softly, a gentle sound that echoed in harmony with the star. It's just happy," he said. I think it wants us to notice it, but not for any reason at all. Just because it can be noticed." Summer smiled faintly, and in that smile was the recognition that some truths are beyond explanation, that sometimes the world is generous in ways that make no sense, but feel entirely right. Throughout the day, Morty discovered something remarkable. His attention, his care, even his laughter, could shape the star's light. If he leaned close, the glow brightened, warm and steady. If he laughed softly, the star's voice harmonized, weaving a delicate symphony in the quiet air. He began to understand that his own heart could influence the world, in small, subtle ways that mattered, even when unnoticed by others. This was the quiet magic of empathy and care, a gentle power that did not shout but simply resonated. Rick approached him later, leaning lightly on the railing. "You're starting to see it," he said quietly. "The world responds to how you hold it. The smallest acts, the gentlest attention, they ripple out farther than you think. This star, it's just the first echo. One day you'll notice that everything you touch carries that same vibration." Morty nodded, letting the words settle like sunlight over his thoughts. The lesson was not loud or urgent. It was a gentle unfolding, a slow recognition of how his inner world could stretch outward, shaping the quiet corners of life. As the afternoon faded into evening, the star settled softly into Morty's hands. He could feel its laughter vibrating gently through him, a reminder that the universe often speaks in ways we are only beginning to understand. He tucked it carefully into a small pouch, whispering a quiet thank you, not needing anything in return. The magic of the day was not in possession, but in the feeling of connection, in the resonance that flowed between observer and observed, heart and light. That night Morty lay in bed, the warmth of the laughing star tucked beside him. He thought of the soft moments that had filled the day, the light spilling across the garden, the gentle presence of Rick, the small companionship of Summer, the playful laughter of the star. And in the quiet of his room, he realized that these experiences, so subtle and tender, were teaching him the rhythm of life itself, attentive, caring, playful, and endlessly expansive. And now, as your own eyes grow heavy, imagine yourself holding a laughing star, feeling the gentle vibration of light and warmth in your hands. Let it echo softly through your chest, through your thoughts, through the quiet chambers of your mind. Listen for the small ripples it sends outward, and let yourself feel the same subtle power, the awareness that your heart can shape the world gently, quietly, and beautifully. Drift with it. Let the hum of the day settle into your breath, and carry this soft wonder into your dreams tonight. The morning light spilled into the kitchen in gentle ribbons, soft and warm, brushing against the countertop where Rick was already humming a faint, almost imperceptible tune. Morty shuffled in, rubbing his eyes, carrying the lingering glow of yesterday's laughter, and stars tucked carefully in his pocket. The world seemed quieter this morning, as if it were holding its breath for something small, something tender, something that might easily be overlooked if one wasn't paying attention. And Morty, with his heart already attuned to these whispers, noticed. Rick smiled faintly as he set a plate of sandwiches on the table. They were ordinary sandwiches, yet even the way he had arranged them, crusts slightly uneven, slices overlapping with thoughtful imperfection, carried a kind of quiet care. "Here," Rick said softly, Sometimes miracles come in small packages, even something as simple as bread and cheese. Take a moment. Notice it. Morty's lips curved into a small smile. He understood that this was not just lunch. It was a lesson in patience, in presence, in the small acts that ripple outward in ways unseen. Morty sat down and held the sandwich in his hands. He felt the texture of the bread, the soft resistance of the filling, the subtle warmth from the sunlight that had crept across the kitchen table. For a moment, it seemed as though the sandwich itself carried a tiny pulse, a quiet heartbeat that spoke of care, connection, and the gentle attention of someone who wanted to nourish more than just the body. Morty chewed slowly, savoring not just the flavors, but the feeling of being seen, of being considered in the smallest details of a mundane morning. After breakfast, Morty wandered into the backyard, carrying with him the residue of this small miracle. The garden had become a quiet sanctuary, alive with subtle movement, the flutter of leaves, the gentle hum of insects, the soft whisper of sunlight through branches. He noticed a small caterpillar inching across a blade of grass and crouched down to watch its journey. Its movements were deliberate, patient, slow. Morty understood somehow that the caterpillar's unhurried path mirrored the rhythm of his own heart, stretching, observing, and learning to move carefully through a world that often felt too big, too fast, too loud. Rick appeared quietly behind him, leaning on the fence. "See," he said softly, "small miracles are everywhere. Sometimes they are in sandwiches, sometimes in bugs, sometimes in the laughter of a star. They're not loud. They don't demand attention. You just have to be ready to notice them." Morty nodded, absorbing the words, letting them curl gently around his chest. Each small observation, each quiet act of noticing, became a thread, weaving him more fully into the tapestry of the world, teaching him patience, empathy, and subtle courage. The afternoon drifted by slowly. Summer joined him in the yard, carrying a small notebook. She had started to write down little observations, sketches of clouds, lists of things that made her smile. Morty watched her, feeling a tender sense of companionship. Even small interactions carried weight, the simple act of sharing space, of noticing together, of valuing one another's quiet attention. They sat side by side, occasionally laughing softly, occasionally whispering words too light to disturb the garden. And in those moments, Morty realized that relationships like miracles were built in gentle increments, in patience, in care. As the day stretched toward evening, Morty discovered another quiet miracle. A hummingbird had landed near the edge of the garden, hovering lightly, its tiny wings a blur. Morty held still, heart slowing, and felt the subtle vibration of life in its tiny body. It lingered just long enough for him to feel connected to something larger, something delicate and fragile, yet resilient. He breathed slowly, letting the soft rhythm of the hummingbird guide his own heartbeat. In its presence, he felt a gentle reassurance that even the smallest life could hold beauty, and that noticing it, truly noticing it, was a gift. Rick watched quietly from a distance, a faint smile on his face. "You're learning," he murmured, almost to himself. "Small miracles are everywhere. You just have to stretch your heart enough to feel them." Morty understood now that these were not lessons in magic or power, but in care, attention, and the subtle influence of the heart upon the world. The world responded to him in small ways, tiny ripples of connection that left a soft imprint on his spirit. Night arrived with the faint scent of rain on warm earth, and the garden settled into quiet shadows. Morty returned inside, clutching his small treasures, the star, the stone, and now the memory of the hummingbird, the leaf, the sandwiches shared in quiet awareness. Each one was a gentle reminder that the universe often speaks softly, through the ordinary, through moments so small they might easily go unnoticed. And sometimes the smallest gestures, kindness, attention, patience, were the most profound miracles of all. As you listen and settle your body into rest, imagine yourself walking through a quiet garden, noticing the small wonders around you, the hum of life in a leaf, the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the gentle flutter of a tiny bird. Let your heart stretch like Morty's, noticing and appreciating the small miracles that surround you every day. Breathe slowly, letting each inhalation carry warmth and calm, each exhalation release worry or tension, and drift gently, knowing that even in the quietest, most ordinary moments, life holds magic just for you. Sometimes, storms come not with roaring winds or pounding rain, but as quiet tremors that ripple softly through your chest, asking you to pause, to breathe, and to notice. Morty woke that morning to such a storm. The sky outside his window was brushed with muted greys and gentle violet streaks, the clouds shifting slowly as though uncertain of their own shapes. The air smelled faintly of rain, yet to fall, of wet earth and the distant sweetness of blossoms. It was a quiet storm, one that asked him to be still and observe rather than act. Morty wandered into the backyard, letting the cool, damp grass brush against his bare feet. His treasures from previous days, the little star, the smooth stone, the soft memories of the laughing star and hummingbird, were tucked carefully into his pocket. He felt their gentle warmth against his hand, a reminder that even amidst uncertainty, there was light and care waiting to be held. The garden seemed to sense the tension in his chest, responding with a soft hush. Leaves trembled lightly in the wind, a whispering lullaby meant to soothe and steady. Rick appeared silently, leaning on the fence as if the storm had no power over him. "Feeling the tug of doubt, huh?" he murmured, voice calm and low. Morty nodded, though the sensation was difficult to name. It was not fear exactly, but a quiet unease that rippled through him, the first stirring of the questions that would follow him into adulthood. "It's okay," Rick continued. "Not all storms need to be faced with swords or speed. Some are meant to teach you patience, observation, trust in yourself." Morty felt the words settle into him like sunlight through clouds, warming and steadying. He walked slowly through the yard, noticing the gentle quiver of the grass underfoot, the soft pulse of leaves overhead, the faint silver edge of clouds catching the first light. Each small detail became a tether to the calm within him, a reminder that storms, even gentle ones, carried lessons. Morty had learned already that his heart could stretch in response to small wonders, to light and laughter, to soft echoes of care. Today, he realized, his heart could stretch toward the unknown as well. The first raindrops fell, slow and deliberate, each one a tiny percussion on the roof, on the leaves, on the stones beneath his feet. Morty tilted his face upward, letting the droplets kiss his skin, feeling their coolness mingle with the warmth of the treasures in his pocket. There was no rush to escape the storm. It was not a threat, but a teacher. Each drop whispered the same gentle message. You are capable of holding calm even when the world around you trembles. You are capable of carrying light through grey skies, and sometimes the most important strength is quiet patience. Summer appeared at the edge of the yard, umbrella in hand but hesitant to open it. She joined him without words, letting the soft rain mingle with the faint warmth of the sun that still lingered behind the clouds. Morty smiled faintly, noticing the subtle courage it took to step into the rain, to share in the quiet storm without shielding oneself from its lessons. They walked together slowly, observing the way the droplets formed patterns on the leaves, how the soil seemed to drink deeply, how the world could feel both fragile and resilient at the same time. Rick watched from the fence, a silent anchor in the gentle chaos. "Storms like this," he said softly, "teach you to trust what you feel inside. You don't always need to fix things, Morty. Sometimes you just need to notice, to stretch your heart a little wider, and to carry on." Morty felt his chest expand in response, a soft pulse of understanding threading through him. The storm was not a disruption. It was a mirror, reflecting the quiet resilience already growing inside him. As the afternoon wore on, the rain softened, dissolving into mist that clung to the garden like a soft veil. Morty crouched to watch, a snail inch along a wet leaf, marveling at the patient determination in its small movements. He realized slowly that strength was not always loud or visible. It was quiet, deliberate, woven into each choice to notice, to care, to remain gentle even when the world felt unsettled. This understanding became a cornerstone of his growth, a quiet heroism that would guide him in ways he could not yet imagine. By evening, the sky had cleared enough to reveal the first shy stars, faintly glowing through lingering wisps of cloud. Morty held his treasures close, feeling the warmth and light against his chest. He realized that the gentle storm had left him with something subtle but profound, a deeper trust in his own heart, a patient awareness that even the quietest doubts carried lessons, and a recognition that small acts of observation, care, and kindness were more powerful than he had ever known. As night falls, imagine yourself walking with Morty through a garden kissed by rain, feeling the droplets cool against your skin, noticing the soft hum of the earth around you, and letting your heart stretch quietly in response. Every gentle storm you encounter, real or imagined, teaches patience, resilience, and the subtle magic of presence. Let your breath slow, your thoughts soften, and your awareness fold into the quiet rhythm of life, carrying the lessons of small, gentle storms into your dreams. The hallway was quiet, dimly lit by the soft glow of a single nightlight, its gentle hum brushing the walls with warmth. Morty's small footsteps echoed softly against the floor, barely louder than the whispering of his own thoughts. He paused for a moment, listening, not to the sounds he could see, but to the faint ones he could feel, the soft creak of the floorboards, the whisper of air through the vents, and the subtle rhythm of life flowing quietly through the house. It was a space between worlds, neither day nor night, where the unseen seemed to speak, and Morty had learned to listen. He pressed his ear lightly against the door to the kitchen, where Rick's low hum mingled with the faint clink of metal. Morty did not need to enter. He only needed to hear the softness in the ordinary, the way small gestures and quiet presences could communicate more than words. Rick's tune was deliberate, gentle, unhurried, a melody that seemed to carry patience and care, a lullaby for those who knew how to notice. Morty smiled faintly, feeling a warmth ripple through his chest. He didn't always understand Rick's words, but he understood the heart behind them, and sometimes that was enough. The hallway stretched longer in the dim light, shadows curling along the edges like soft fingers. Morty walked slowly, feeling each step as a conversation between himself and the floor beneath him. Each motion carried a quiet intent. He was noticing, he was present, he was allowing the subtle currents of life to guide him. There was a whisper in the hallway, not loud, not urgent, but persistent, calling him to pay attention to the hearts around him. And Morty was beginning to understand that listening, truly listening, could be as powerful as speaking, sometimes more. Summer appeared at the far end of the hallway, her own footsteps slow, tentative. She did not speak, only held her gaze softly on Morty as he moved. The silence between them was not empty. It was full of understanding, of empathy that required no explanation. Morty realized that listening was not just about hearing words. It was about feeling the spaces between them, noticing the subtle currents in someone's presence, and holding them with gentle attention. A whisper, he thought, could carry more than a shout. A pause could teach more than a lecture. Morty's hand brushed against the wall, feeling the faint textures beneath his fingers, the cool paint, the soft grain of wood at the trim, the lingering warmth of footsteps that had passed before him. Every detail was a story, every shadow a small lesson in noticing. He understood more clearly than ever that quiet awareness was a form of kindness, a way to honor the world and those moving quietly within it. Rick's mentorship had been subtle, patient, and strange in ways that often confused him, but now Morty felt the echo of it here. In the soft murmur of light and shadow, a faint breeze slipped through the slightly open window at the end of the hallway, carrying the scent of evening flowers and the warmth of the lingering sun. Morty paused to inhale slowly, letting the cool air mix with the faint warmth in his chest. The hallway seemed to breathe with him, expanding and contracting in quiet synchrony. He could feel the connection to the house, to his family, to Rick's subtle guidance, and to the small, unnoticed miracles that had filled his days. The laughing star, the hummingbird, the soft sandwiches, and even the gentle storm from yesterday. Morty thought of the small ways he had begun to help others, not with grand gestures, but with the quiet power of attention. He remembered summer's smiles, the stars' laughter, the gentle responses of creatures both small and large. He realized that listening, noticing, and caring could ripple outward, far beyond the hallway, far beyond his own small awareness. Each whisper of attention was a tiny act of kindness, each moment of presence a small miracle. And these moments, he felt, were the first threads of his quiet heroism. a power that did not rely on noise or spectacle, but on the deep resonance of an open heart. Rick's voice drifted from the kitchen again, faint and melodic. Sometimes, Morty, the most important things are the ones you can't see. You feel them, and then they guide you quietly, like whispers in a hallway. Morty nodded, understanding without words. He felt the lesson settle gently into him, soft as the evening air. That empathy. Attention and quiet courage were intertwined, forming a gentle power he could carry into every moment, even when shadows stretched long and light flickered uncertainly. By the time night fully descended, the hallway glowed faintly with moonlight filtering through the curtains. Morty returned to his room, treasures in hand, heart full of quiet awareness and mind attuned to the soft rhythms of life he had begun to notice. Each whisper, each small echo, each subtle gesture of care had stretched his heart in ways he could feel but not yet name. And as he lay down to sleep, he carried the lesson with him, to listen, to feel, and to let the quiet power of empathy ripple outward, touching lives gently, patiently, and with love. And now, as you settle into your own space, imagine walking down that soft-lit hallway with Morty. Feel the whispers brushing against your skin, the gentle rhythm of the air, the warmth in your chest, and the subtle magic of noticing. Let your breath slow, let your thoughts soften, and allow your own heart to stretch gently with quiet courage. The world is whispering to you tonight, carrying lessons in patience, empathy, and presence, just as it did for Morty, and it invites you to drift into sleep held safely in its gentle arms. Some nights, Morty felt the world settle into a hush so deep it seemed to wrap around him like a blanket. The stars above blinked gently, distant and soft, yet strangely close, as though they carried tiny secrets meant only for those who noticed them. Morty had begun to understand that the universe did not always speak in loud declarations. Sometimes it whispered in tiny pulses of light, in the quiet rustle of leaves, or in the warmth of a hand resting gently in his own. He carried these lessons with him, tucked carefully in the pockets of his small jacket, alongside the little star he had once held, and the smooth stone that had seen so many quiet afternoons. He wandered through the garden at twilight, the sky a soft wash of violet and gold, feeling the subtle vibration of life around him. Each step was measured, deliberate, as if he were tracing the pulse of the earth itself. Morty reached into his pocket and felt the familiar warmth of the star. Its glow was faint but steady, like a heartbeat. He smiled softly, noticing the way light could be carried not just in the sky, but in small, tangible forms that rested against the chest, felt in the hands, and warmed the heart. Each star in his pocket was a reminder that even the smallest acts of care could illuminate the world quietly, profoundly, without fanfare. Rick appeared at the edge of the garden, his figure softened by the fading sunlight. "You're learning, Morty," he said quietly, his voice almost blending with the evening wind. "The small things you carry, the attention you pay, the care you show, these are the stars in your pockets. They'll guide you when the sky above feels empty." Morty nodded, letting the words settle like soft rain. He could feel the truth of them, that kindness and empathy, though subtle, could become their own kind of light, touching lives in ways unseen but deeply felt. Summer joined him, carrying a small jar. She had caught a few fireflies, their glow flickering faintly like tiny living stars. "Look," she said softly, placing the jar beside Morty's hands. The two lights, his star and the fireflies, blended in the dim glow, casting gentle shadows across the garden. Morty reached out, letting one of the fireflies rest briefly on his palm, its warmth a delicate echo of the larger world. He realized then that stars were not just objects of wonder in the sky, but symbols of care, attention, and quiet influence. By noticing, by holding gently, by offering presence, he could carry the same light into the world. The garden seemed to hum softly around them, as if it too recognized the small miracles unfolding. Leaves rustled with subtle applause, a bird trilled faintly from a nearby branch, and the wind moved in gentle eddies, brushing their faces with a soft reminder of life's delicate pulse. Morty understood that helping others, even in tiny, seemingly insignificant ways, was a form of quiet heroism. A word of comfort, a gesture of kindness, a soft smile in passing, these were the acts that shaped hearts, including his own. Rick crouched beside him, picking up a small pebble and turning it over slowly. "Notice this," he murmured. "It's ordinary, yes, But in your hands it becomes part of a story, just like your heart, ordinary in shape but extraordinary in what it can carry. Morty absorbed the words, feeling the warmth of his star, the pulse of the fireflies, the cool texture of the pebble. He realized that life was not about grand gestures or dramatic adventures. It was about these quiet accumulations of care, patience, and attention, the stars we hold in our pockets and the light we share with others. As dusk deepened into night, Morty began to walk slowly back toward the house. He carried the star gently, careful not to disturb its faint glow, and he held the lessons of the day close to his heart. Each step was a meditation, each breath a quiet acknowledgement of the connections threading him into the world. The stars in his pockets were more than objects. They were reminders that empathy and care could stretch farther than he could see, shaping moments in ways both subtle and enduring. Summer followed quietly, her jar of fireflies glowing softly. Morty looked at her and smiled, realizing that relationships like stars required gentle attention. They thrived not through force, but through presence, patience, and the shared understanding that each small act of care was a ripple in the universe. He felt the resonance of all he had learned so far, the laughing star, the hummingbird, the gentle storm, the hallway whispers, and how each small miracle had quietly expanded his capacity for empathy, understanding, and quiet courage. That night, as Morty lay in bed, he placed the star beside him and let the firefly's memory drift through his mind. He breathed slowly, feeling the soft warmth of his pocketed treasures against his chest. Each heartbeat carried the awareness that the quietest, smallest gestures could shape the world around him in subtle, enduring ways. And as sleep approached, he felt the gentle pull of dreams, carrying with it the knowledge that the stars in his pockets were always there, not just as objects but as symbols of the light he could hold and share in life's unfolding story. Now, as your eyes grow heavy, imagine yourself walking with Morty, carrying your own stars in your pockets, soft lights of kindness, attention, and empathy. Let their warmth guide your heart. Let your breath mirror the quiet rhythm of the world, and allow the small miracles surrounding you to settle into your thoughts. Feel the gentle exhale of calm, and drift with Morty into the dreamlike night, knowing that the light you carry quietly stretches into the universe. Sometimes, laughter comes softly, lingering like a memory long after it has been heard. Other times it arrives suddenly, startling and bright, echoing in spaces where shadows have gathered. Morty felt both kinds that day. The morning began gently, with sunlight brushing the edges of his bedroom and a faint warmth lingering in the air. But then came a sound, a laugh, soft at first, then fuller and more resonant, carrying the weight of something lost, something remembered, and something quietly beautiful. Morty wandered into the backyard, carrying the treasures that had become constant companions. The laughing star, the smooth stone, and the memory of the hummingbird's delicate wings. He paused beneath the old tree, letting the sound of the laughter drift over him. It reminded him of the first moments of joy he had discovered, the soft pulse of life in small, unexpected places, and yet there was also a melancholy hidden within it. Some laughter, he realized, is tied to absence. It echoes in the spaces left behind, in the corners of hearts that have known tenderness and pain alike. Rick appeared, leaning against the fence with his usual quiet watchfulness. "That laugh," he said softly, "is a reminder that life holds both delight and sorrow. It's all tied together. You feel it, Morty, because you've learned to notice, not just the bright, happy moments, but the shadows that come with them. That's strength." Morty nodded, feeling the resonance of the words. Strength, he was beginning to understand, was not loud or forceful. It was the quiet capacity to carry the echoes of joy and grief alike, without being undone by them. Summer arrived at the edge of the yard, her presence gentle and steady. She didn't speak, only observed as Morty lifted the laughing star and let its soft vibrations mingle with the echoing sound. The star seemed to harmonize with the laughter, amplifying it in the gentlest way, turning what could have been piercing into something soft and almost soothing. Morty understood then that resilience was not about blocking out pain or silencing grief, but about finding ways to integrate them into the rhythm of life. Even laughter could be a teacher, revealing how to carry softness and depth simultaneously. The afternoon unfolded in a slow, deliberate way. Morty discovered the power of small gestures, noticing how a gentle word, a shared glance, or a quiet act of presence could help someone carry their own echoes. He remembered the stars he had, carried in his pockets, the fireflies' soft glow, the whispers in hallways and the gentle storm. Each experience was a thread weaving through his consciousness, teaching him that emotional depth was not a burden, but a quiet strength, a light that could illuminate even the corners of sorrow. Rick crouched beside him, pointing toward a distant patch of sunlight that had broken through the clouds. "See that?" he said softly. "Even when shadows linger, there's always light breaking through. Sometimes it's small, sometimes fleeting, but it's enough to guide you. The echo of laughter, the warmth of a kind gesture, they're the same thing. Tiny lights you carry forward." Morty absorbed the words, feeling their rhythm settle into him. He could sense how the laughter had changed him, softened him, and strengthened him all at once. Summer joined him, and together they watched the laughter drift across the garden, mingling with the soft hum of life. The rustle of leaves, the distant trill of birds, the faint vibration of wind through the branches. Morty understood that joy and sorrow were not opposites but companions, threading through existence in subtle, quiet ways. The echo of laughter became a motif in his growing understanding, that even in disappointment, even in loss, there is light, connection, and the opportunity to stretch the heart wider. By evening, the laughter had quieted, leaving only a soft resonance like the fading hum of a distant bell. Morty tucked his treasures safely into his pockets, feeling the warmth of the star and the memory of the laughter intertwine. It was a lesson that would stay with him, that emotions, like light, are meant to be carried, felt, and shared, not hidden away. There is strength in noticing, in holding gently, and in allowing the echoes of life to settle into your chest without fear. As night fell, the backyard glowed faintly under the first stars. Morty walked slowly toward the house, feeling the soft pulse of the garden beneath his feet. He carried the laughter with him, not as a fleeting moment but as a quiet imprint, a gentle teacher guiding him toward empathy, patience, and the subtle heroism of the heart. He understood at last that resilience is not loud or forceful. It is soft, patient, and capable of holding both joy and sorrow, stretching outward quietly to touch lives without fanfare. Now, as you drift toward sleep, imagine holding a small star in your pocket, letting the echoes of gentle laughter vibrate softly through your chest. Feel the warmth of the moments you have noticed today, the subtle kindnesses you have given or received, and let them stretch your heart gently. Breathe slowly, letting your awareness soften and expand, carrying with it the quiet strength of Morty's journey. Let the echoes of laughter guide you into dreams that are both tender and enduring, and allow your heart to rest in the gentle rhythm of life. Sometimes mornings arrive not with alarm or urgency, but as gentle revelations, moments when the world unfolds softly around you, inviting observation, reflection, and quiet wonder. Morty awoke to such a morning, not in his familiar room, but on a world that shimmered with unfamiliar colors, soft horizons, and light that seemed to hum a gentle tune. The air smelled faintly of minerals and sweetness, carrying a calm that whispered through the folds of his mind. Everything about this place was strange, yet not frightening. It felt as though the universe had carved out a moment just for him to notice, to learn, to feel. The sky stretched above him in muted pastels, streaks of violet and silver brushing the edges of drifting clouds. Morty stepped forward slowly, feeling the texture of the ground beneath his feet, a soft, springy surface that seemed alive, responsive, as though the world itself were breathing beneath him. Each step carried him further into a meditation, a quiet rhythm of attention and awareness that had become second nature. He held his treasures, his star, the memory of the hummingbird, the stone, in his pocket, feeling the familiar warmth of light against his chest. Rick appeared beside him, leaning casually against an iridescent rock formation. "Morning on." "Another world, Morty," he said softly, voice blending with the low hum of the air. "Notice how everything seems new yet familiar. That's the lesson here: empathy, attention, and patience. These things travel with you, no matter where you are." Morty nodded, feeling the truth of the words ripple gently through him. The world could shift, skies could change, yet the quiet, subtle powers he carried, his ability to notice, to care, to respond with gentle presence, remained constant. As Morty wandered further, he discovered that this world responded to him in ways both subtle and profound. Small plants bent toward him as he walked, leaves shimmering faintly with soft light. Tiny creatures peeked from behind stones and stalks, observing him with cautious curiosity, then retreating when he gave them space. Morty felt a quiet connection, a thread linking his heart to the rhythm of the environment. Here, empathy was not abstract. It had tangible weight, guiding his movements and shaping the world in small, visible ways. Summer appeared beside him, her eyes reflecting the strange beauty around them. She did not speak, only shared the silence, letting the soft light of the world mingle with the warmth of their companionship. Morty realized that relationships, like worlds, could hold unfamiliar forms yet still feel deeply understood. The quiet attention he gave to this alien landscape mirrored the attentiveness he offered to others, observing, feeling, and responding with care. In this he felt a profound reassurance that emotional connection was not bound by geography, circumstance, or familiarity, but by presence and heart. Rick led him to a small pool of crystalline water, its surface perfectly still, reflecting the soft skies above. Morty leaned close, noticing the faint ripples that arose from his own breaths, small disturbances that spoke of interaction, responsiveness, and subtle influence. He realized then that his empathy, his attentiveness, was a kind of quiet power. It did not roar or demand attention. It moved gently, leaving traces, illuminating what it touched, shaping not through force but through presence. Here, on another world, this lesson was magnified. The world itself seemed to bend and glow in response to his awareness. The day unfolded slowly, like a soft melody. Morty explored the alien gardens, feeling the pulse of life in every leaf, rock, and creature. He learned that subtle observation could teach more than loud action. He noticed the way a small creature hesitated before moving, how the wind carried a faint melody through the plants, and how the colors of the sky shifted with quiet deliberation. Each observation was a meditation, a rehearsal in patience, empathy, and the quiet heroism of attentiveness. He began to understand that his powers were not about control or change, but about harmony, resonance, and the gentle guidance of the world around him. By evening, the alien sky deepened to soft shades of indigo and lavender. Morty sat beside the pool holding his star, feeling the warmth and light vibrate gently in his palm. He reflected on the day's lessons, that attentiveness, empathy, and subtle care could shape experience even in unfamiliar circumstances. That connection was possible across distances, species, and worlds. And that quiet, patient presence was the foundation of his growing strength. Rick and Summer sat beside him, silent witnesses to his meditation, their own hearts quietly tuned to the rhythms he had begun to feel. As night fell, Morty looked up at the alien constellations. They were not the stars he had known, yet they carried the same soft hum, the same delicate promise that light could be found even in strange places. He held his star close, feeling it resonate with the world around him, a tangible echo of care, attention, and empathy. He understood that this journey, through strange worlds, storms, hallways, and gardens, was shaping him not with spectacle, but with quiet depth, preparing him for a life of subtle heroism, patience, and enduring compassion. Now, as your eyelids grow heavy, imagine yourself walking with Morty across this quiet alien morning. Feel the soft earth beneath your feet, the gentle hum of life around you, the warmth of a small star in your pocket. Let your heart expand with empathy, patience, and awareness. Breathe slowly, and allow the calm rhythm of this world to guide you into sleep, carrying with it the gentle lessons of connection, attention, and quiet presence that will linger softly in your dreams. Some friendships are quiet, their presence felt rather than announced. Morty remembered this as he wandered down the familiar hallways of his home, where the light fell in soft pools across the floor. Shadows stretched lazily along the walls, and he felt the gentle hum of the day settling into something almost sacred. Today, the memories of his first friend, the one who had taught him how to laugh softly and notice quietly, came to him in whispers. brushing against the edges of his heart like a delicate breeze. He remembered the way they had shared afternoons under the old tree in the backyard, inventing stories and exploring hidden corners. Even when words failed, a look, a laugh, or a simple touch had carried volumes. Morty felt the warmth of those moments now, like a quiet glow tucked into the folds of memory. The world around him seemed to honor those echoes. The light flickering through the window, the soft rustle of leaves outside, the faint vibration of his own heartbeat, all reminders that connection, even in its simplest forms, left lasting imprints. Rick watched from his usual perch, leaning against the railing, eyes soft with quiet observation. "Some friends," he murmured almost to himself, "shape you without ever trying. They leave shadows that stretch across your heart, teaching you how to care, how to notice, how to carry gentle strength." Morty nodded, feeling the truth in the words settle around him like a gentle mist. Shadows were not absence. They were evidence of depth, of presence, and of influence that lingered long after the moment had passed. Summer joined him, carrying a small notebook. She had begun recording small observations, sketches, and notes, just as Morty had once done with stars, fireflies, and hummingbirds. The three of them sat together, silently watching the evening light filter through the leaves. Morty's thoughts drifted to his first friend, the way they had taught him to be patient, to observe and to feel the subtle currents of emotion in others. He understood now that friendships were like gardens. They required attention, care, and a willingness to let growth happen at its own pace. As the day progressed, Morty felt the gentle pull of memory guiding his actions. He noticed small ways he could honor the influence of his first friend, pausing to listen fully when someone spoke, offering a soft word when it was needed, carrying light in small gestures. He realized that empathy was a gift he could share, a form of quiet heroism that did not need grand displays. The shadows of his first friend lingered, not to remind him of absence, but to guide him in presence, patience, and care. Rick handed him a smooth stone, worn by time and travel. "Take this," he said softly. "It's a reminder that your first friend's lessons aren't lost. They live in you now. Let it ground you, and carry it with the same gentle strength." Morty took the stone, feeling its cool surface and subtle weight in his palm. The act of holding it was itself a meditation, a quiet acknowledgement of the ways relationships love, and guidance ripple through life long after the moments have passed. Summer leaned close, placing her hand lightly on Morty's shoulder. The gesture spoke volumes, echoing the silent understanding that had always existed between Morty and his first friend. Words were unnecessary. Presence alone carried the lesson forward. Morty smiled, feeling the small, almost imperceptible power of shared attention, empathy, and quiet understanding. The shadows of the past were not burdens. They were gentle teachers, guiding him toward deeper connection with the people and creatures around him. As twilight deepened into night, Morty wandered into the garden, carrying the stone and his memories with him. The air was cool, scented faintly with blossoms and the fading warmth of sunlight. He felt the subtle hum of life in the leaves, the faint shimmer of stars beginning to appear, and the gentle presence of his first friend in the recesses of his mind. Each step was deliberate, a meditation in remembering, honoring, and noticing the quiet power of relationships. Morty understood more clearly than ever that friendship was not always about laughter or words. It was about presence, listening, noticing, and carrying light into each moment. Shadows were proof of connection, evidence that love, care, and attention left lasting marks. Even when distance or time separated him from the people he cherished, their influence remained, shaping the way he moved through the world and the ways he reached toward others with quiet empathy. By nightfall, Morty returned to his room, treasures in hand, the stone, the faint glow of remembered laughter, and the lessons of his first friend, now fully integrated into his growing understanding of care and subtle heroism. As he settled under the soft weight of his blankets, he felt the quiet exhale of the day, the gentle stretching of his heart, and the reassurance that the lessons of relationships, love, empathy, patience, and presence would always guide him. Now, as you drift into sleep, imagine holding your own treasures, memories, gestures of kindness, lessons from friends close to your heart. Let their shadows guide your thoughts, carrying warmth, understanding, and quiet strength into your dreams. Feel your breath slow, your heart stretch gently, and let the soft echo of connections, both past and present, settle around you like a calm, protective light. Some moments from the past do not fade with time. Instead, they settle quietly into the corners of the mind, soft and persistent, like a lullaby remembered long after the song has ended. Morty awoke that morning to a world that felt familiar yet strange, as if yesterday had left behind traces of itself in every shadow, every ray of light, every whisper of the wind. The soft echo of yesterday wrapped around him like a gentle sigh, carrying memories both bright and melancholic. He wandered through the backyard, noticing how the sunlight played differently across the garden than it had the day before. The shadows of trees stretched long, brushing lightly against the ground, and the petals of flowers trembled in a subtle breeze. Each detail seemed to hum with familiarity, yet revealed something new when observed closely. Morty realized that the past was not a single fixed thing. It was a living presence, quietly shaping the way he noticed, felt, and responded to the world. Rick appeared in the doorway, his silhouette softened by the warm morning light. "Yesterday leaves traces," he said softly, "if you know how to look. Memories, lessons, echoes. They're all part of the quiet guidance that shapes who you are. Sometimes the most important growth happens in noticing, not doing." Morty nodded, feeling the truth in Rick's words settle gently into his chest. He understood that the soft echo of yesterday was not meant to burden him, but to teach him patience, empathy, and awareness. Summer joined him, holding a small notebook filled with sketches and observations from the previous days. They walked together slowly, allowing the rhythm of the morning to guide their steps. Morty thought about the laughing star, the hummingbird, the first friend, and the gentle storm, all the small experiences that had quietly shaped him. Each one seemed to ripple through the present, leaving subtle imprints on his heart and guiding his understanding of kindness, resilience, and emotional connection. The garden seemed to respond to his reflection, as though acknowledging the quiet pulse of memory. Leaves rustled gently, light shimmered across the petals. And the faint hum of life threaded through the air. Morty knelt to touch the soft grass, feeling the small vibrations beneath his fingers. He realized that yesterday's echoes were not separate from today. They were a part of the ongoing rhythm of life, a series of soft reminders that the heart could carry, expand, and stretch with patience and care. Rick handed him a smooth stone, worn by time like a small talisman of memory. "Hold this," he said, "and let it remind you of the lessons that echo softly, the ones that shape you quietly. Yesterday teaches you, and tomorrow awaits your gentle attention." Morty felt the stone's subtle weight in his hand, grounding him in the quiet awareness of continuity. Each memory, each small echo was a thread linking his experiences, allowing him to carry light, understanding, and empathy forward without haste. Summer reached out and placed her hand on Morty's shoulder, her presence steady and calm. The gesture reminded him that echoes are not carried alone. They are shared, reflected, and magnified through relationships. Morty smiled faintly, realizing that the soft echoes of yesterday were not merely his own. They belonged also to those who had touched his life, shaping him in ways both seen and unseen. He felt the quiet pulse of connection stretching outward, linking memory to action, attention to kindness, and heart to heart. The day unfolded slowly, each moment a meditation in noticing. Morty paused to watch the sun filter through the leaves, casting dancing patterns on the ground. He observed the small creatures in the garden, the way a bird tilted its head curiously, the soft crawl of an insect along a petal, and understood that attention, empathy, and care extended beyond people to every living thing. The echoes of yesterday carried lessons of presence, humility, and quiet courage, shaping his interactions with the world in subtle, enduring ways. By evening, the garden shimmered with a soft, golden glow. Morty carried the stone and the lingering warmth of memories in his pockets, feeling the quiet hum of life pulse beneath his feet. He reflected on the gentle growth he had experienced, the soft heroism of noticing, and the quiet power of empathy. The soft echo of yesterday had become a gentle companion, a guiding presence threading through his day, his relationships, and the rhythm of his heart. As night descended, Morty lay in bed, allowing the faint warmth of memories to settle around him. He imagined the soft echoes of yesterday, small joys, quiet lessons, moments of kindness, drifting through his mind, stretching his heart gently and calmly. Each memory was a soft thread, linking the past to the present, the world around him to the world within him. And as sleep approached, he felt the quiet reassurance that the lessons of yesterday would continue to guide him, carry him, and illuminate his journey in gentle, enduring ways. Now, as your own eyes grow heavy, imagine holding your memories' small joys and lessons close to your heart. Let them stretch softly within you, like threads of light weaving a gentle pattern through your consciousness. Breathe slowly, feel the quiet echo of kindness and care, and allow your heart to settle into the rhythm of gentle growth, ready to drift into dreams that are soft, reflective, and warm. Night arrives softly, like a whispered sigh drifting through the trees. The sky was a deep velvety blue, punctuated by tiny glimmers of stars that seemed to pulse gently, as though breathing with the rhythm of the world. Morty walked slowly along the familiar paths of the backyard, the earth cool beneath his feet, and his heart carrying the quiet weight of choices that mattered in ways both visible and invisible. Tonight was different, though not in any dramatic way. The difference was subtle, internal, and entirely his. Earlier that evening, Morty had encountered a small creature near the edge of the garden. Trembling with uncertainty, caught between fear and curiosity, most would have walked away, distracted by the mundane rhythms of life or the lure of comfort. But Morty felt the pull of something quieter, deeper, a gentle insistence to act with attention, empathy, and care. He paused, letting the creature see his presence before making any move. The pause itself was a choice, deliberate and patient, teaching him that action did not always have to be immediate or loud. Sometimes the softest decisions carried the greatest weight. Rick watched from the porch, his expression softened by the gentle light of lanterns. "Morty," he said, voice barely more than a hum, "tonight isn't about grand gestures. It's about the subtle choices, the ones that stretch your heart without you realizing it. That's the kind of heroism that lasts." Morty nodded, feeling the truth of those words seep quietly into him. He understood now that small acts, made with care and presence, could ripple farther than the grandest adventures, leaving traces of warmth, understanding, and connection. Summer appeared beside him, carrying a jar of fireflies whose soft glows danced like tiny lanterns in the night. She didn't speak, only shared the quiet space with him, a presence that reminded him that choices, even gentle ones, were never made alone. Morty considered the trembling creature once more. He could lift it, shelter it, guide it safely back to the warmth of the garden, or he could leave it to face the shadows alone. Each option carried consequence, yet neither demanded haste. He inhaled slowly, feeling the rhythm of the night settle through him, and let the choice arise not from fear or pressure, but from gentle intention. Finally, he knelt, offering his hand as a quiet invitation. The creature hesitated, sensing the warmth, patience, and steadiness that radiated from him. Slowly, carefully, it moved closer, allowing itself to be guided by his gentle presence. Morty smiled faintly, realizing that heroism often takes this form: quiet patience, subtle care, and the willingness to hold space for another being's trust and growth. He felt the connection thread through him, stretching outward in unseen ripples, touching not just the creature, but the garden, the stars above, and the soft spaces between all things living. Rick approached, crouching beside him. "See, Morty, that's the kind of strength that matters. Not shouting or forcing your way, but noticing, waiting, offering your heart gently. The world responds to that in ways you'll never fully measure." Morty held the small creature carefully, feeling the warmth and trust pressed softly against his palm. The lesson was clear. The quietest choices often leave the deepest marks. One gentle decision, made with awareness and care, could echo in ways that the loudest acts never could. Summer's fireflies glimmered nearby, their faint light mirroring the soft heartbeat of the moment. Morty understood that relationships, empathy, and attention were all intertwined, threads woven into the fabric of life that could carry weight, warmth, and illumination far beyond immediate perception. The night seemed to hum along with him, the stars above flickering faintly in response to the soft glow of choice, echoing the quiet courage that stretched gently through his chest. As the evening deepened, Morty returned the creature to a safe corner of the garden, its small body trembling less and its trust fully given. He knelt there for a moment, letting the significance of the night settle within him. The gentle choice he had made was not spectacular or dramatic. It would go unnoticed by the wider world, but it had stretched his heart, deepened his awareness, and left a subtle mark of empathy that would ripple outward in quiet, enduring ways. By the time he walked back toward the house, the garden bathed in the soft silver glow of moonlight. Morty felt the steady hum of satisfaction, calm, and quiet pride in the rhythm of his chest. He understood that the world did not require grand heroics to be shaped by goodness. The smallest gestures made with thoughtfulness and heart could leave luminous echoes in ways invisible but profoundly real. As he settled beneath his blankets that night, Morty held the warmth of the creature's trust close to his chest, feeling the soft echo of his decision pulse gently in his heart. He breathed slowly, letting the quiet lesson weave through him, that the night, the stars and the lives around him responded not to force, but to the gentle, patient, mindful choices that stretch hearts wider, illuminate souls, and ripple quietly across existence. Now as your own eyes grow heavy, imagine holding a gentle choice in your hands, letting it resonate softly within your chest. Feel the warmth of quiet courage, patience, and empathy settle around you like a protective light. Breathe deeply, letting your awareness stretch gently into the night, and allow your heart to rest in the quiet power of thoughtful, gentle action, carrying it with you into dreams that are soft, luminous, and full of enduring warmth. Time sometimes feels like a river, slow and deliberate, stretching through moments both remembered and imagined. To other times it is more like a quiet hallway, lined with echoes and shadows, where each door opens to a memory, a lesson, or a gentle surprise. Morty found himself in such a hallway one late afternoon, walking slowly, feeling the pulse of the world beneath his feet. He carried with him the accumulated warmth of stars, laughter, and gentle choices, each step resonating with the subtle rhythm of experience. The walls of the hallway were soft, almost liquid in appearance, reflecting faint light that shifted with his gaze. Doors appeared intermittently, some slightly open, some closed, each offering glimpses of past moments, childhood laughter under the old tree, the trembling creature he had guided tonight. The echo of his first friend's words, the soft glow of fireflies beside summer. Morty walked with care, understanding that each memory was a thread, a part of the tapestry of his heart, and that his attention could shape the way those threads intertwined. Rick's voice echoed softly from somewhere along the hall. "Morty, notice this," he murmured. "Time isn't just a sequence of days. It's a reflection of what you carry, what you've chosen, what you've loved. Your empathy, your attention, the subtle powers you've cultivated, they are threads that float through it all, connecting moments that may seem distant, but are never truly separate." Morty felt a gentle warmth settle in his chest. He understood that his powers, flexibility, care, patience, empathy, were not about controlling the world, but about moving through it with awareness, allowing subtle changes to ripple quietly across space and memory. He stopped before a door that shimmered faintly, the light spilling out like soft stars scattering across the floor. Pushing it open, he entered a room that felt both familiar and strange. Here past and present coexisted, shadows of laughter, moments of hesitation, gentle acts of care, and small gestures of courage hovered like delicate motes in the air. Morty moved among them, recognizing each echo as a piece of himself, a symbol of growth, and a reminder that the quiet choices he made carried weight far beyond what he could immediately see. Summer appeared beside him, her eyes reflecting the soft glow around them. She didn't speak. She merely offered presence, which Morty now recognized as one of the most profound forms of connection. They walked together, floating through the halls, observing the gentle echoes of time as they folded into one another. Each memory, each small act, had created a resonance, a quiet illumination that shaped who Morty was becoming, reinforcing the lessons of kindness, empathy, and attentiveness that had been quietly building since childhood. Rick followed at a distance, leaning against the liquid walls of the hallway, his voice soft and reflective. "Morty, see how the threads of your life float together? Every small gesture, every quiet act of care ripples through this hallway, shaping not just your path but the paths of everyone around you. That's the nature of your growth, subtle, enduring, and almost invisible, yet profoundly real." Morty absorbed the words, feeling the truth resonate like a gentle pulse throughout his chest. Growth, he realized, was not always loud or visible. It was found in the careful, consistent cultivation of attention, empathy, and heart. As he floated further, the hallways opened into wider spaces, rooms filled with soft light, echoes of music, gentle laughter, and the murmur of remembered kindness. Morty paused in the center of one space, closing his eyes, and allowed himself to feel the totality of his journey, the soft echo of yesterday, the laughter and joy, the trembling creatures he had guided, the gentle choices he had made, and the quiet presence of friends and family, each memory and sensation intertwined, forming a tapestry of light and warmth that stretched through the hallways of time. By evening, as the light dimmed to the softest shade of twilight, Morty understood that he was not simply walking through memory, he was floating, carried by the currents of empathy, love, and quiet heroism. His powers, subtle and symbolic, were fully intertwined with his experiences. Flexibility of heart, attentiveness to others, and the gentle courage to act with care. He realized that these were the true markers of his growth, the invisible yet enduring influence that shaped not just his life, but the lives of those around him. Returning to the hallway's entrance, Morty paused, taking a final moment to breathe in the resonance of the past, present, and possibilities yet to come. He felt the threads of time settle softly around him, like a comforting quilt woven from moments of attention, care, and subtle heroism. The lessons he had gathered, the echoes of laughter, and the warmth of gentle choices were no longer confined to memory. They were part of the very fabric of his being, ready to guide him quietly through every unfolding day. Now, as your eyelids grow heavy, imagine yourself walking through your own halls of time, observing the threads of your life, the moments of kindness, love, and quiet courage that have shaped you. Feel the gentle pulse of connection, the warmth of lessons learned, and the soft light of empathy and attentiveness that stretches through your chest. Breathe slowly and allow yourself to float through these halls, carried gently by memory, reflection, and the enduring strength of quiet, patient heart. Sometimes, kindness is not a bright flash or a sudden gesture, but a gentle, steady presence that lingers long after the moment has passed. Morty understood this as he walked slowly through the familiar garden, the soft glow of evening settling over the leaves and flowers. The world seemed quieter tonight, more intimate, as though it had paused to let him notice the small ripples of care that moved through life, unseen yet profoundly felt. Summer walked beside him, her steps light and unhurried. She carried the faint warmth of shared moments, laughter, and whispered understandings. Morty felt the subtle strength of their companionship, realizing that kindness once offered did not vanish. It stayed, embedding itself quietly into the hearts of those it touched. He remembered all the small acts he had performed in recent days, guiding a trembling creature, carrying a star in his pocket, listening when words failed, offering gentle presence when it was most needed. Each action had left a trace, a quiet glow in the world around him. Rick appeared beside them, leaning against a tree, his voice soft and almost reverent. "Morty, see how the smallest gestures carry weight. Kindness isn't measured in grand acts or applause. It stays in the spaces between moments, in the quiet corners of the heart, in echoes that follow long after the world has moved on. That's the real strength, the enduring power that changes the world without ever demanding recognition." Morty nodded, letting the words sink into him. The lesson was clear. True heroism and lasting impact were woven into the gentle patterns of care, attention, and empathy. The trio moved further into the garden, where the fireflies began to appear, their tiny lights flickering in rhythm with the heartbeat of the night. Morty paused, noticing the subtle choreography of life around him, the way a leaf trembled in the breeze, the faint hum of insects hidden among flowers, the shimmer of stars reflected on a pool of water. Each detail whispered a quiet truth. The world responds to patience, observation, and consistent kindness. Morty felt his heart expand, with the realization that his presence, small and deliberate, was a stabilizing force not just for others, but for himself as well. A soft breeze carried the scent of blossoms and the faint warmth of sunlight lingering in the evening air. Morty reached out to touch the smooth stone he had carried since the encounter with the trembling creature. Its cool surface was a reminder of continuity, a tangible symbol of kindness offered and received, lessons learned and remembered. He thought about the first friend who had shaped him, the moments of laughter, the gentle guidance of Rick, and the quiet understanding shared with Summer. Each relationship, each act of care had formed a lattice of stability that he could rely on, a quiet power that stayed. Summer's eyes reflected the soft firefly glow, her presence a reminder that kindness is shared, multiplied and magnified through connection. Morty felt the rhythm of their steps, the quiet resonance of their hearts in tandem, and the affirmation that the world's gentle currents were shaped as much by attention and care as by action. He understood that being present, listening, and offering subtle support could stabilize lives, guide others through uncertainty, and create a lasting imprint far beyond immediate observation. Rick gestured toward the horizon, where the first stars began to punctuate the deepening sky. "Morty," he said softly, "the kindness you carry isn't just for others. It's also for you. The moments you notice, the care you offer, they settle into your own heart, giving you strength, patience, and clarity. That's why it stays. It becomes part of you, and you carry it wherever you go." Morty breathed slowly, letting the resonance of these words settle deep within. He felt the truth of them in every step, every heartbeat, and every quiet glance exchanged between him and Summer. As they moved through the garden, Morty noticed the creatures around them responding in subtle ways. A bird perched closer than before. A leaf shimmered faintly in acknowledgement. A flower seemed to turn toward him. The world itself seemed to recognize the kindness he carried, amplifying it gently without words or ceremony. He realized that lasting influence does not shout or demand. It flows quietly, embedding itself into the rhythms of life, leaving echoes of warmth, presence, and care. By nightfall, Morty and Summer returned to the house, carrying with them the quiet hum of the evening, the soft glow of fireflies, and the awareness of the enduring power of gentle action. Morty held the stone in his pocket, feeling the warmth of accumulated kindness, and reflected on the invisible threads connecting him to the people, creatures, and moments that had shaped him. He understood that true strength is subtle, patient, and persistent, the kind that stays, long after the initial gesture has faded and stretches outward to touch everything it encounters. As Morty settled into bed, the soft rhythm of the night settling around him, he felt the gentle pulse of kindness stretch through his heart. Each breath carried the quiet affirmation that the choices, gestures, and attentiveness he offered were never fleeting. They lingered, creating patterns of warmth and stability that extended beyond him, embedding softly into the world and the hearts of those he loved. He closed his eyes, letting the night hum softly, and drifted into dreams guided by the gentle, enduring presence of all the kindness he had carried. Now, as you drift towards sleep, imagine holding the warmth of kindness in your own hands, feeling its quiet pulse stretch through your chest. Let your heart expand with empathy, patience, and the subtle courage of gentle action. Breathe deeply, allowing the lessons of care and attention to settle softly within you, and let your dreams carry you into a world where kindness lingers, light persists, and hearts stretch quietly in shared warmth. Night draped itself gently over the world, a quiet veil of deep blue and soft shadows. Morty walked slowly through the garden, feeling the hum of life all around him, crickets whispering in the grass, the faint shimmer of fireflies, and the delicate rustle of leaves in the evening breeze. Each sound, each movement felt like a lullaby, small, tender, and filled with the quiet wisdom of existence. Tonight, Morty's thoughts lingered on things lost and found, on the invisible threads connecting beginnings and endings, and on the soft lessons carried in memory and heart. He paused to watch the stars begin to appear, tiny points of light flickering like candles in the vast, gentle dark. Some stars had been lost, fading with time, yet their light remained lingering softly in the memory of the sky. Morty understood that life itself mirrored this rhythm. Moments, people, and experiences might fade or change, but the warmth, lessons, and love they left behind remained, woven subtly into the fabric of the world. The thought settled in him like a soft exhale, and he carried it quietly as he walked among the familiar paths of his backyard. Rick appeared, leaning lightly against the garden gate. "Morty," he said softly, voice carrying the calm weight of understanding, "life is full of things we lose, things we find, and things we'll never fully understand. That's why we sing lullabies, not just for sleep, but for remembering, for letting go. and for holding the gentle truths close to our hearts." Morty nodded, feeling the truth of the words ripple gently through him. The night, the stars, and the soft chorus of the garden seemed to echo the sentiment that acceptance and presence are intertwined, that loss is never total, and that love quietly endures. Summer joined them, carrying a small jar of glowing fireflies. Their light flickered in rhythm with the soft breeze, like tiny echoes of laughter and whispers of old stories. Morty realized that even as things are lost, new moments, new joys, and new connections emerge, often quietly, without fanfare. The interplay of absence and presence, of loss and discovery, was itself a lullaby, a rhythm of life that called for reflection, patience, and gentle acceptance. Morty paused at a small pond near the edge of the garden, the surface reflecting the sky's scattered stars. He dipped his hand into the water, feeling its cool embrace ripple gently against his fingers. The reflection of stars trembled with the movement, soft echoes dancing across the surface. In that moment, Morty thought of those he had loved and lost, the creatures he had helped, the quiet gestures of care and presence he had shared. He realized that each act, each bond, each memory lingered, not in grand monuments, but in the soft, enduring patterns of influence that stretch quietly across time and heart. Rick's voice broke the silence again, gentle and low. "Morty, the power you carry isn't in controlling life, it's in noticing it, feeling it, and holding it gently. Lullabies are a reminder that even when things are gone, their echo remains. That's the beauty of kindness, empathy, and love. They never truly vanish. They fold into your heart and continue to shape the world, quietly, softly, always." Morty felt warmth settle deep in his chest, the soft truth of Rick's words resonating in every heartbeat. Summer leaned close, her hand brushing lightly against his arm. The gesture was simple, yet it carried volumes: reassurance, presence, and the reminder that shared understanding lightens the weight of memory and loss. Morty smiled faintly, thinking of the first friend, the trembling creature, and the countless small moments of care and attention that had shaped him. He understood now that life's gentle heroism lay not in the grand or dramatic, but in the quiet choices, tender acts, and enduring love that ripple through the world in unseen ways. The night deepened, stars flickering ever so slightly, and Morty lay back on the soft grass. He listened to the whispers of the garden, the gentle hum of insects, the distant rustle of leaves, the faint song of crickets, and felt the lullabies of the lost and found wrap around him. Each memory, each bond, each echo of kindness and understanding was a thread in the tapestry of life, stretching from the past into the present, guiding him gently toward tomorrow. As sleep began to settle, Morty imagined the soft echoes of the lost and found carrying him through dreams. He pictured laughter and light, the warmth of friendship, the gentle glow of fireflies, and the enduring threads of kindness that connected every moment, every life, and every heart. The world, he realized, was filled with quiet music, soft patterns, and gentle rhythms that remind him of presence, resilience, and the beauty of noticing. Now, as your own eyelids grow heavy, imagine the lullabies of your own lost and found stretching softly through your chest. Feel the warmth of past moments, the quiet glow of memories, and the gentle reassurance that even as things fade, their essence remains, shaping the heart and mind in ways both subtle and enduring. Breathe deeply and allow yourself to be carried gently into dreams that hum softly, glimmer quietly, and rest peacefully in the quiet warmth of love, empathy, and presence. The night sky stretched above Morty like a quiet, infinite ocean, filled with stars that shimmered softly, each one carrying whispers of the past. He walked slowly across the garden, feeling the gentle pull of memories that had gathered there like soft shadows and glimmers of light. Every laugh, every small act of kindness, every gentle choice he had made floated faintly in the air, woven into the very fabric of the night. It was as though the stars themselves remembered, their distant light reaching down to touch him with subtle reassurance and quiet warmth. Morty paused by the old stone wall, where he had spent countless hours reflecting, observing, and learning. The surface was cool beneath his fingers, grounding him in the present even as his thoughts drifted backward. He thought of the first friend, the creatures he had guided, Summer's steady companionship and Rick's quietly tender guidance. Each memory shimmered in the quiet of the evening, a constellation of experiences that had shaped the contours of his heart. Morty realized that the past, though gone, remained alive in the echoes it left behind, gentle ripples that touched him now and would continue to resonate long after. Rick appeared beside him, leaning casually on the wall, his eyes reflecting the soft glow of the stars above. "Morty," he said softly, "look at them. Each star remembers a moment, a choice, a heartbeat. They don't vanish when the light fades. They carry the memory forward, into the night, into the future. That's the quiet truth. Everything you've done, every kindness, every gentle act leaves a mark. And those marks, they matter." Morty nodded, feeling a deep sense of calm and acceptance settle into him. The stars were not just lights in the sky. They were witnesses, guardians, and silent companions on his journey. Summer joined them, carrying the jar of fireflies from earlier. Their soft glow mirrored the stars above, small and ephemeral, yet radiant with persistent warmth. Morty smiled as he watched the creatures drift upward, the light from their tiny bodies blending seamlessly with the distant starlight. In that moment he understood something profound. Memory, love, and care were never truly lost. Even the smallest gesture of empathy could ripple across time and space, leaving traces that endured far beyond the initial moment. The universe, in its quiet wisdom, preserved what mattered. He thought of the many choices he had made, small, almost imperceptible acts that now revealed themselves as gentle heroism. Guiding the trembling creature, listening fully to friends, offering words of reassurance, holding presence where it was needed, all of it had contributed to a subtle tapestry of care. Morty felt the quiet power of these actions, realizing that legacy was not about grandeur, accolades, or dramatic victories, but about the accumulation of thoughtful, loving moments that touched lives in ways both seen and unseen. Rick gestured toward the sky. "Morty, see how the stars stretch into infinity? That's how memories work. The ripples of your choices extend further than you can imagine. Each one carries a kind of light that doesn't fade. Even in darkness, even when forgotten for a while, it endures. You've learned to notice it, carry it, and create it yourself. That's the kind of mark worth leaving." Morty absorbed the words, feeling a calm pride not in accomplishment, but in the quiet constancy of care, empathy, and presence. Summer placed her hand lightly on Morty's shoulder, and they stood together in silence. The garden seemed to breathe with them, the soft rustle of leaves, the faint hum of insects, and the glimmer of fireflies blending into a gentle symphony of memory and presence. Morty felt the soft exhale of the day, the deep understanding that connections, love, and small acts of kindness were threads that persisted, linking past to present and present to future. It was as though the stars themselves were singing a lullaby, a melody of remembrance and enduring warmth. By the time night deepened into the softest velvety dark, Morty lay on the grass, gazing upward at the infinite tapestry of stars. Each one carried echoes of laughter, lessons, gentle courage, and love. He breathed slowly, feeling his chest expand with the calm certainty that the past had not been wasted, that relationships, guidance, and kindness had left luminous traces upon the world. He understood that memories and care are not possessions, but living presences, stretching outward like light across the sky, guiding him and those he loved even in the quietest moments. Now as sleep beckons, imagine yourself lying beneath your own stars of remembrance. Feel the warmth of kindness, love, and gentle choices pulsing softly within you. Let the quiet echoes of past joys and lessons stretch through your chest, illuminating your mind and carrying a soft reassurance that the world remembers, that your heart matters, and that light persists even in the deepest night. Breathe slowly and allow the gentle hum of stars to carry you into dreams filled with calm love and quiet wonder. The first light of dawn crept softly across the sky, painting the horizon in muted shades of pink, gold, and quiet lavender. Morty stood in the garden, feeling the subtle warmth of morning settle over his shoulders like a gentle embrace. The world seemed hushed, waiting in that delicate transitional moment between night and day. Each breath he took was infused with the soft promise of beginnings, endings, and the enduring rhythm of life that had carried him through countless small, transformative moments. He stretched slowly, reaching his arms toward the pale light. In that simple motion, Morty felt the culmination of every gentle choice, every act of empathy, and every quiet moment of courage. His heart expanded in tandem with his body, and he realized that the powers he had cultivated, kindness, awareness, attentiveness, and patience, were fully integrated into who he had become. The stretching was not only physical, it was symbolic, a soft embodiment of emotional growth, love, and presence. Summer appeared beside him, carrying the faint scent of early blossoms. She didn't speak, only smiled, her quiet companionship a reaffirmation of everything they had shared. Morty felt the calm steadiness of their bond, the kind that did not need words to be meaningful. The small acts of care, patience, and gentle heroism that had defined their days together now wove into an invisible tapestry connecting them, their presence like threads of light stretching into the dawn. Rick joined them quietly, leaning against a tree, his voice soft and reflective. "Morty," he said, "look at the way the light changes everything. You've carried the quiet strength of kindness, empathy, and gentle courage through every day. And now, look, it stretches outward, into you, into the world. That's what matters, the quiet power that doesn't shout, but remains." Morty inhaled slowly, feeling the truth of those words resonate within him. The dawn was not just a new day. It was a mirror of all he had learned, all he had offered, and all he had become. As the sun edged higher, light spilled over the garden, touching each leaf, blade of grass, and flower with a gentle shimmer. Morty wandered slowly, observing the world in its quiet perfection. Birds began their morning songs, soft and intermittent, and the air carried the subtle fragrance of dew and blossoms. Every sound, every shimmer of light, every small motion of life felt like a reflection of the kindness, empathy, and attentiveness he had cultivated. He understood that true power was not in grand gestures, but in steady presence, in attention, and in small persistent acts of care that ripple far beyond immediate perception. Morty found a smooth stone on the ground, a talisman of memory and lessons learned. He held it in his hand, feeling its weight as a reminder of the quiet continuity of life. Each gentle choice he had made, each connection he had nurtured, and each act of quiet heroism had left a subtle, enduring imprint, stretching through time like the rays of the dawn itself. In that moment, he understood the profound simplicity of existence, that the heart's capacity to love, notice, and act gently is a power that persists beyond events, beyond memory, and beyond himself. Summer leaned against his shoulder, and Morty felt the shared rhythm of their hearts, a subtle confirmation of everything they had nurtured together. Rick watched, the faint smile of quiet pride on his face, and Morty knew that the lessons of presence, kindness, and attentiveness would continue to guide them, not just today, but through every morning, every dusk, and every quiet, reflective night yet to come. The world itself seemed to breathe in response, the soft morning air vibrating with the subtle music of life, care, and continuity. By mid-morning, Morty settled onto the soft grass, the light now full but gentle, warming his face and hands. He stretched again, slowly, feeling the culmination of countless soft choices echo through his limbs and heart. The dawn was no longer a fleeting moment. It had become a reflection of all that had shaped him. Small acts of courage, gentle empathy, attention to the subtle, and enduring kindness. His heart swelled with quiet satisfaction, an inner calm that radiated outward into every corner of his being, and into the lives of those he loved. As sleep, or perhaps the gentle surrender of thought, called him once more, Morty closed his gray eyes, letting the soft warmth of the morning, the subtle music of life, and the enduring threads of kindness, care, and quiet courage fill his mind. He allowed himself to float in the gentle rhythm of awareness, presence, and love, fully at peace with the past, fully open to the future, and fully immersed in the quiet, luminous strength of his own heart. Now, as your eyelids grow heavy, imagine yourself stretching into the dawn of your own life. Feel the gentle expansion of heart and mind, the quiet hum of empathy, kindness, and presence stretching outward, connecting you to the world. Breathe slowly, let the warmth settle into your chest, and allow yourself to drift gently into dreams that carry the soft strength, calm wisdom, and enduring light of everything you have nurtured within you. The evening settled softly over the world, like a lullaby whispered into the ears of everything alive. Morty walked slowly across the quiet garden one last time, feeling the soft weight of the day fading into memory. The stars above shimmered, faintly gentle witnesses to everything he had learned, every act of kindness he had offered, and every connection he had nurtured. Their light reminded him that life's quiet threads, love, empathy, care, presence, stretch outward far beyond immediate perception, touching hearts, memories, and spaces unseen. He paused beneath the old tree, where shadows played softly in the moonlight. Here, Morty reflected on the journey that had carried him from the tremors of a strange childhood to the quiet mastery of his own heart. He remembered guiding trembling creatures, listening without interruption, and stretching his awareness to notice the smallest gestures of life. Each act, no matter how subtle, had accumulated into a gentle presence, a soft heroism that endured without applause, leaving traces that lingered like the faint glow of distant stars. Rick appeared beside him, leaning against the trunk, voice a low, steady hum. "Morty," he said, "look at what you've become. Not a warrior of battles, not a shouter of truths, but a quiet force of care. The kind of presence that changes worlds without anyone ever realizing it. That's your legacy. It's soft, it's subtle, and it lasts." Morty felt the calm resonance of those words settle in his chest, spreading warmth across his limbs and heart. The journey of growth, reflection, and gentle heroism had led him here, fully present, fully aware, and fully at peace with the light and shadow of existence. Summer joined them, carrying the jar of fireflies. Their flickering glow blended seamlessly with the stars above, reminding Morty that the echoes of care, kindness, and presence are never lost. They are carried forward in the quiet, enduring rhythms of life. Morty smiled faintly, imagining all the creatures, friends, and moments that had shaped him. The trembling creature, the first friend, the laughter and whispers shared with Summer and Rick. They were part of him now, woven into the texture of his being, stretching outward like soft threads into the infinite night. Morty lay down on the grass, letting the soft, familiar earth support him. The stars above shimmered, the fireflies danced, and the world seemed to breathe gently around him. In that quiet moment, he understood something essential. Life does not always need dramatic conclusions, loud gestures, or recognition. Its beauty lies in subtlety, persistence, and the enduring echoes of care. The acts we offer, the love we share, and the attention we give quietly ripple outward, touching everything in ways that are gentle, profound, and lasting. Rick watched, quietly as Morty traced the faint patterns of starlight with his eyes. "Sometimes," he murmured, "the most important things in life are invisible, carried only by hearts and memories. You've learned to notice them, and that makes all the difference. That's why the world will always remember you, even if it doesn't know it." Morty exhaled slowly, feeling the truth of those words vibrate softly through him, settling like a gentle echo in every part of his being. Summer leaned close, whispering softly, "The night keeps you safe, Morty. And somewhere out there, everything you've loved and shared is still shimmering, still glowing, still carrying your heart forward." Morty smiled, the warmth of her words blending with the quiet assurance of the stars. The world felt vast yet intimate, infinite yet intimately connected by invisible threads of memory, care, and quiet courage. He understood now that existence itself was a series of gentle echoes, a tapestry of subtle heroism, and a rhythm of enduring presence. As the night deepened, Morty allowed himself to drift into the tender embrace of sleep. He imagined floating among the stars, stretching gently through the endless sky, carrying with him every lesson learned, every soft act of care, and every quiet connection. Somewhere beyond the edge of memory and time, he continued to move, to notice, and to offer presence, a soft hero in a world that didn't require applause to shine. And as he slept, the garden hummed with quiet life, the stars flickered their gentle recognition, and the fireflies danced in perfect rhythm with the pulse of the night. Morty's journey, though now resting, continued in the threads of light and warmth that stretched outward. touching every corner of the world in subtle, enduring ways. Somewhere, he's still out there napping in the sun, stretching into the soft currents of life, presence and love, carrying every lesson, every gentle choice, and every flicker of light forward into the infinite. Thanks for spending this time with us. Sleep well. Everything's going to be okay, man.